The story unfolds in a world where the realms of gaming and reality have intertwined. The protagonist, a low-skilled orphan, is given the opportunity to transform into a formidable dragon, capable of annihilating any hunters bold enough to challenge him. In the previous chapter, Su Yang traveled to the transmission center and set off on a journey into the cold moon jungle. There, he faced the monsters that were part of his mission. Without hesitation, he utilized a vast supply of high-level scrolls to defeat them. After that, he went over to the boss and unalive it with one powerful swing. Now on to the next part. After taking down the boss, Su Yang sifted through his loot with high hopes, only to be met with disappointment. The items dropped were mediocre at best, a far cry from the riches he'd amassed as a dragon. Among these, the Wolf King's crystal core stood out, not for its value to Su Yang, but for its sheer lack of appeal. Still, he was done with his quest, so there is that going for him. And so he decided to go back to the transfer hall. But before he could, Zhang completely heard his dismissive comments about the core, and so he tries his luck by asking Su Yang if he would be so kind to just give it to him. But little did he know, Su Yang had caught every word of his earlier disrespect and his plans to use him as mere bait. And therefore Su Yang confronts Zhang about this, and his shitty personality, because now that things didn't go as he pleased, he has the audacity to try befriend him and get what he wants. Well, too bad. Su Yang isn't a pushover that they can just step on, and so Su Yang shattered the core in front of Zhang's face, establishing dominance and a lesson not to mess with him ever again. And if he so wants to fight him right now, he would be glad to give him some smoke. And because Zhang was bitch-made, even though he was violated like that, he didn't do nothing, and just let Su Yang walk away. At the same time, Zhang's crew can't believe what just happened as well, and they wish all of this was just a dream, because no one would even believe them that they encountered a damn rookie this strong who can kill a boss with one swing. A few moments later, Su Yang had successfully returned to the Hunter's Square, where he was met by the nun he had recently encountered. She initially thought he had come back with more questions, but Su Yang quickly set the record straight, informing her that he had completed his 5-star task and was ready for his job transfer. And only shock could be seen on her face. This was understandable since he took up a 5-star transfer task after all, and finishing at this rate is totally unheard of, which in turn made the nun skeptical. But as she checked out the receipts, it seems like Su Yang wasn't lying at all. Su Yang had indeed accomplished the task, and with this, the nun began to see him in a new light. This guy isn't a show-off nor an idiot after all. It turns out he was really powerful. So powerful that it made people wonder if he was cheating. But the system won't lie, and the fact that he returned uninjured speaks volume of his strength. But as she continues to look at him intently, Su Yang felt increasingly uncomfortable, and so he snaps her out of it by inquiring whether he could now initiate his job transfer, which was successful, and so the nun led him to the statue once more. But as they made their way to the statue, the nun found herself increasingly preoccupied with thoughts of Su Yang's remarkable strength. She considered how advantageous it would be for her church to have someone of his caliber exclusively. Luckily, she had already informed the priest about Su Yang, reducing the risk of him being recruited by others. But as she continued to think about Su Yang, her thoughts took a more personal turn. She revealed to be down horrendous for real. Like damn, she a nun. But she down to get dirty with Su Yang since he is also pretty handsome. And she was even thinking of getting his contact information after this ordeal was over. And the thought of being with this guy is already driving her crazy. But these thoughts were momentarily set aside as they arrived at the statue, and not a moment wasted. Su Yang stepped closer, and almost instantly, a burst of light shines above, and then several beams of light descended swiftly and penetrated him in succession, filling him with powerful energy. This spectacle signaled that he had successfully passed the test, and was now prepared to undergo his profession change. And then immediately, a golden halo started to materialize around his wrist. This was a job halo, a special reward given to players who complete the job change tasks, and its color and the bonuses it provides vary according to the difficulty of the task completed, starting from white for a 2% bonus, green for a 4% bonus, blue for a 6% bonus, purple for a 10% bonus, and then to orange for the highest tier, offering a staggering 25% bonus to basic attributes. This is beyond what he expected, and he could feel it. He had really grown significantly. Additionally, he also changes to a demon warrior class, a hybrid class, adept in both close combat physical skills and a broad range of magic abilities, enhancing his versatility and overall power. Furthermore, since he had completely changed his job, his level cap was elevated to 40, and the surplus of 400,000 experience points from his previous endeavors instantly boosted his level to 34. This significant jump provided him with 210 attribute points, which he swiftly allocated to enhance his strength and spirit to 90 each, and his speed by 30. This strategic distribution of attributes, combined with his flaming sword, dramatically amplified his capabilities. Su Yang's strength surged to over 500, his spirit reached 300, and his speed climbed to 100, marking a substantial evolution from his initial state. But the blessings didn't end there, as he had also received the promised epic skill book, specific to the demon warrior profession, in which contains an epic grade skill named Magic Blade, enabling him to forge a weapon out of condensed magical power, inflicting full magic damage, and the damage of it increases with his strength and mental attributes. This was such a great skill that Su Yang didn't think twice to try it out, materializing a blade made out of mana, and swung it, but to his surprise, the skill's capabilities exceeded his expectations, as the blade can be controlled through mere thought, and can even be transformed at will without being restricted by appearance. This adaptability made it invaluable for close-quarter combat and ranged attacks alike, and the most important thing about this skill is that it could be enlarged infinitely, and only limited by Su Yang's mana reserves, which is equivalent to owning an heirloom weapon that couldn't be destroyed, showcasing remarkable cost efficiency. There was no doubt that it was indeed a 5-star job transfer mission. The distinction was clear, as the rewards far surpassed those of lesser tasks, and with this, Su Yang resolved to pursue more 5-star challenges in future job changes. But his trains of thought were disrupted by the nun, congratulating him on his achievement, and from today on, his name will be engraved on the temple monument, and he will become a VIP guest of the job transfer temple. But speaking of VIPs, Su Yang went ahead and asks what the privileges were, but the nun was unsure of the details, and so she suggested waiting a moment while she sought clarification from her superiors. But it seems like there was no need for that, as another figure showed up to the scene, willing to explain everything regarding matters related to VIPs. And all I could say is, damn. I don't know about you or what the temple is cooking here, but I need to reincarnate now. I will definitely work damn hardest and become a pope that will spread the temple's words and their Dressed in an enchanting white gown, the newcomer was none other than Bai Ling, the senior priest of the transfer temple in Dangling City. Her arrival caused a stir, surprising even the nun. The position of senior priest is nearly equivalent to the highest authority within the temple, making her presence at this moment noteworthy. But the equally surprising thing that Su Yang had accomplished was enough of a reason, and naturally she had to receive such an important guest in person. But with Bai Ling now present to address any inquiries and formalities, the nun's role was rendered unnecessary, prompting Bai Ling to politely dismiss her, which she understood, but deep down, she was crying her hearts out, as she had not yet acquired Su Yang's contact information. Now that was settled, Bai Ling approached Su Yang, extending her arm for a handshake. Initially puzzled by her gesture, Su Yang hesitated until Bai Ling explained that it was simply the easiest way to transport him privately to the VIP room for a more detailed discussion. Trusting her intentions, Su Yang grasped her hand, only to witness a magic circle envelop them, a precursor to their sudden teleportation. In an instant, they found themselves in a different section of the temple, revealing the handshake to be a sophisticated space transfer technique. Su Yang marveled at the realization that a temple priest from a third-tier city possessed such advanced abilities. No wonder people say that the strength of the transfer temple is unimaginable. And as Su Yang was thinking this, Bai Ling noticed Su Yang's look of wonder and modestly downplayed her abilities. She mentioned that her skills weren't inherently powerful. Rather, they are just borrowed power from the temple's sacred statue, that's all to it. On the contrary, he is more surprising. According to the current records, there had never been a 5-star job changer in Dangling City, and even in the Tianling City, the last successful 5-star job transfer had occurred a decade prior. This surprised Su Yang, since Tianling City is the superior city of Dangling, and its development level is several levels higher than that off Dangling. But only one of them had been able to complete a 5-star task in 10 years. So it seems like the value of completing this 5-star transfer task were far greater than he had initially perceived. And just as he had realized, Bai Ling began detailing the suite of benefits awarded to him by the transfer temple, in accordance with its long-standing traditions. Firstly, Su Yang was to receive a generous monthly allowance of 10 million in the national currency, a substantial sum that underscored the value placed on his accomplishment. Secondly, he was granted a black gold status authentication from the X-Alliance, entitling him to a 20% discount on all purchases and transactions, a privilege that would undoubtedly make his adventures and endeavors both more efficient and cost-effective. This revelation left Su Yang in awe of the temple's largesse, particularly as these benefits were seamlessly integrated with his ID, simplifying his access to these newly acquired privileges. However, Bai Ling had more surprises in store. She further explained that Su Yang's exceptional status also afforded him the opportunity to join any A-level guild within the city. But Su Yang, accustomed to operating solo, inquired Bai Ling if joining a guild was obligatory, which Bai Ling reassured him it wasn't a requirement, but strongly recommended considering it, as the collective resources and support a guild offers could significantly accelerate his growth and strength. An individual's ability is limited, after all. Furthermore, joining a guild comes with added benefits like experience buffs, aura enhancements, and crucially, team protection, making it an attractive option over going it alone. And Su Yang understood this line of reasoning. And it is also true that a solo player can easily be targeted, especially those like him who had taken the spotlight. While confident in his abilities against a hunter of the same level, facing a significantly higher level hunter could pose real challenges, and having a guild would likely prevent that from ever happening. And he really needs any help that he could get, since his aspirations extended far beyond the confines of Dangling City. He aimed to become a dominant figure across all realms, a prospect that puts a smile on Su Yang's face. Now that was decided. Su Yang asked Bai Ling what guilds are there to choose from, prompting her to reveal that there are currently only 2 A-level guilds in Dangling City. And based on various data, she recommended the Spirit Hunting Guild as the most suitable option for him. This suggestion landed awkwardly with Su Yang, considering his recent encounters with members of that guild. Eager to explore alternatives, he prompted Bai Ling to introduce the other guild, leading to the mention of the Yuyun Guild. Unlike the Spirit Hunting Guild, the Yuyun Guild was known for its strength and discretion, competing closely, yet maintaining a low profile. But Su Yang doesn't care. He only wants to join any guild other than the Spirit Hunt Guild. So he chose Yuyun without much thought, which surprised and confused Bai Ling. But choosing this guild would be much more of an entertaining sight for her, and so proceeded to manage the membership formalities on his behalf, seamlessly integrating him into the Yuyun Guild's ranks. But before Su Yang could depart, she very much liked to inform him that the Yuyun Guild is composed entirely of women, completely catching my boy Su Yang off guard. But that's how our chapter ends. In the previous chapter, Su Yang returned to the Hunter's Square where he successfully transitioned to a Demon Warrior class. This class, a blend of warrior and magician, enhanced both his physical and mental capabilities, making him a formidable and versatile force. Additionally, he leveled up to 34, receiving a significant boost in attribute points. He also acquired a special skill book that enabled him to create a magic blade, a weapon he could shape at will, limited only by his mana capacity, effectively giving him a weapon as enduring as an heirloom. Furthermore, Su Yang secured VIP privileges at the temple, which included a monthly stipend of 10 million in national currency, a black gold ID from the X-Alliance offering a 20% discount on purchases and transactions, and was granted the choice to join any A-level guild in the city. And since there were only 2 guilds to choose from, one of which was the Spirit Hunt Guild, Su Yang automatically decided to go with the other guild, only to discover that the Yuyun Guild was exclusively for female hunters, catching him off guard. But since Bai Ling had finished processing his application, there's not much he could do but prepare his ass and just lock in. Now on to the next part. In the bustling city of Tianling, the Yuyun Guild, also known as the Phantom Cloud Guild, stands out with its base resembling an opulent mansion, befitting its status as an A-level guild. And just like what had been stated before, the guild is exclusively comprised of women. Among them is Lin Yuyu, a level 85 hunter and leader of the B-rank guild named after her, the Yuyu Guild. And Lin Yuyu often finds herself lamenting the lack of engaging activities. Meanwhile, Lin Yuyun. Wait a minute. Lin Yuyu and the other is Lin Yuyun. Why does it have to be confusing? Okay. I'll just call the black-haired girl Lin, and the brunette Yuyun. Yuyun is a formidable level 99 hunter, and the leader of the A-rank Phantom Cloud Guild, and she overhears the frustrated remarks of Lin, and so she pointed out that she is not even in her own guild. She is just freeloading every day at their place, so she doesn't have the right to complain. And since Lin is in the wrong, she humbled herself. But she can't just go back to her guild since she finds the responsibilities there overwhelmingly tedious. But before Yuyun could respond, another familiar character had arrived at the scene, opening the door with such force and immediately responded to Lin that, even though Lin likes slacking, she can't just skip out on guild duties without notice, especially when it comes to welcoming new members. And this newcomer is none other than Zukian, who introduces herself as an ice elementalist. While Lin finds Zukian's abilities satisfactory, but she's particularly more interested of how cute Zukian looks, and so she approves of her joining the guild, which surprised Zukian. But she barely gets a chance to respond as Yuyun's reaction overtakes the conversation, as it seems like she was engrossed in some information displayed on a system window, prompting Lin to inquire about the commotion. Yuyun revealed that a male member had unexpectedly joined their guild, causing a stir among the guild members, all curious about the sudden new member. Lin found this peculiar, considering the Phantom Cloud Guild's policy of only accepting female members, and wondered if there might have been an error on the part of Yu Yun's subordinates. However, Yu Yun corrected her, stating that the new member was directly assigned by the Transcendence Temple after completing a 5-star task and being designated a VIP, giving him the privilege to join any A-rank guild of his choosing, leaving Yu Yun with no grounds to deny him. This revelation left the guild members in awe of the mysterious new member's achievements, but the question still remained. Why the hell didn't he choose to join the Spirit Hunters Guild instead? But Yu Yun is still the guild leader, so she maintained an open mind, refraining from jumping to conclusions without evidence. She proposed setting the speculation aside for the moment, intending to personally meet the mysterious Su Yang. Yu Yun was prepared to take action if he turned out to be troublesome or disrespectful, reassuring everyone that there would always be ways to remove him if necessary. Amidst this discussion, Shu Qian, recognizing Su Yang's name, expressed her astonishment, prompting Yu Yun to inquire if she knew him. Zhu Qian shared that Su Yang was indeed a friend from Dangling City and had recently ascended, suggesting he should still be at level 1 just like her. This led Yu Yun to assume it was merely a coincidence in names, but before they could move on with the matters at hand, another figure had appeared, making a grand entrance just like what the other girl did. The girl was none other than Mu Rongshui, a level 95 hunter, who is also a member of the Phantom Cloud Guild, and she is here to confirm a shocking news that the Spirit Hunt Guild had indeed suffered a total defeat in the Black Dragon dungeon, though the details of their mission were murky, but the outcome was unmistakably a disaster. This revelation put the guild on high alert, especially when they are about to challenge the Giant Forest dungeon, so it seems like they have to be more cautious with their strategy for their next raid. But Mu Rongshui had more than just grim tidings to share. To the guild's surprise, she brought news of an unexpected windfall. Zhao Ming's weapon, the Storm's Call, had exploded in the auction house. This happened when she coincidentally checked the auction house, and was surprised to see that there's the Storm's Call weapon listed for auction. At that time, there was only one bidder in the entire Tianling city, most likely from the Spirit Hunter, and so she did the most devious thing she could think of, which the others already knew exactly what it was, as they smile all together, knowing that they had fucked up the Spirit Hunter's bank, as Mu Rong had kept pushing the bid with Zhao Ming, driving the price up to over 12 billion. Meanwhile, Zhao Ming just sneezed. An old wives' tale hinted that someone might be speaking of him behind his back. Yet such superstitions were the least of his worries. His thoughts were preoccupied on that damn black dragon, and the ice bitch who had skyrocketed the bid to astronomical levels. And Lei Shan was having none of Zhao Ming's bitchery as well. And the fact that the seller can't be reached through private message made them lose 14 billion, a huge hit to his guild funds, and even the news about Zhao Ming's weapon exploding must have spread, making their guild a laughing stock. And with this, Lei Shan decided to kick Zhao Ming in the ass to straighten the F up, because he can't have him acting up after costing him so much. But the backshot was so hard that whatever cheeks Zhao Ming has was disintegrated to a powder, making him unable to stand, and so he was left behind. And the two enter the next room to face the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion by themselves. But that doesn't matter, because Lei Shan and Qian Yuan is now in deep shit, as they are seated across a long-ass table, and is face-to-face with the members of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. And they are all pissed, especially the white-haired dude named Zhou Tai, a level 110 hunter, a 5-star bloodthirsty warrior, and the strategy group leader of the said guild. So he asked these two blokes if he was hearing things right, 'cause ain't no way they be saying their strategy was flawed. This must be a joke. After all, they have cleared the Black Dragon Fortress at least 5 times, and based on that, they summarized this strategy and meticulously verified every step, so there shouldn't be any issues. And the only way they could mess up like this must be some skill issue, or they hadn't followed their strategy step by step. But despite the tension, Lei Shan stood his ground, and reasoned out to Zhou Tai that would be impossible, since their guild is known for being careful when it comes to raiding bosses. That's why they were once an undefeated guild. And he could assure them that they followed their strategy from the very start. But the behavior pattern of the Black Dragon was really problematic, completely different from the description in the start they gave them. But of course, he is not questioning their professionalism, but he swears that every word he says was true. And he ain't stupid enough to sacrifice his entire guild's main force just in order to blackmail them. But this reasoning's only made Liu Ci, a level 103 shadow assassin, to laugh at them of how utterly useless they were, as they had been fed by strats, and yet they still get fucked up by a level 99 trash boss. And they even caused a ruckus blaming it all on the Heavenly Mechanism's exploration team. The audacity. But Lei Shan couldn't deal with such disrespect, so he glared back and asked Liu Qi to watch his words. But Liuzi just doubles down with the mockery, calling them weak, and they should get good, or F off. But Zhou Tai was too old to deal with this, and so he broke off the fight before it even started. And now that was settled, he made it clear to everyone that his Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion has always placed the utmost importance on integrity, and will never sell any incorrect information. Therefore, he will arrange for the exploration team to retrace the steps in the Black Dragon Fortress. If there are indeed errors in the strategy, all the losses incurred by the Spirit Hunt hunters will be borne by them. If the strategy is correct, then it only means that Lei Shan made a mistake, and it's not their concern anymore, which the Spirit Hunt Guild doesn't have any problem with the proposal. And so they agreed, and with that, it was decided that the 4 of the strategy members of the Heavenly Mechanism will take Lei to the dungeon to investigate, which the other 3 didn't object. But before the meeting could be adjourned, another figure appeared, looking ominous as possible, as his dark green mist envelops the whole room, alerting both Lei Shan and Qian Yuan thinking he was an enemy, but Zhou Tai just calmly walked past them, and told them to calm down before they could make a fool of themselves, because the man in front of them is none other than Chen Lu, a level 115 5-star necromancer, straight from the main headquarters of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, and he is here since he had heard that they are going to the Black Dragon Fortress. But Zhou Tai didn't inform him about it, a task that he had specifically instructed them to do, prompting Zhou Tai to ask for forgiveness to Master Chen, and that he just doesn't want to trouble him, as this is mainly their exploration team's follow-up service. But Chen Lu doesn't care about their reasons, as he already made up his mind to go with them. And thinking about killing the dragon made him really down bad, for it's the delicious soul could make his treasure even stronger. But even if he kills the dragon 1,000 times, it wouldn't be enough to satiate him, so the dragon must prepare for him because he will juice it dry to its bones. While the others could only cringe looking at this mofo react this way, sticking his tongues out like he's a 24/7 pervert. But even with this, Lei Shan couldn't help himself but smile with that all-might-looking grin, showing his true colors. Because with a team of this size, clearing a 4th-ranked dungeon is absolutely no problem, and if they could indeed kill the Black Dragon, that's fine by him. But if they get wiped out by it, then they absolutely deserve it. Whether it's a genuine strategy or fake one, with such heavy losses on his side, these self-righteous strategy groups should pay some price. Meanwhile, Su Yang found himself finally able to relax in his bed, though not without a new source of stress. His guild's chat channel was abuzz, primarily with conversations about him, which he found rather irritating. Thankfully, he managed to block the notifications, affording himself a moment of peace to rest. But just as he was about to drift off to sleep, a notification caught his attention. It was an update about the auction for the Stormcall weapon he had listed. Surprisingly, only 2 bidders were involved, yet their persistence was evident as they had extended the bidding war across over a dozen pages, driving the price up to 14 billion. This was a staggering 40% above the weapon's average highest selling price, a feat Su Yang silently thanked the so-called Ice Witch for, as her participation had significantly inflated the bid. Adding to his good fortune, Su Yang's status as a distinguished member of the X-Alliance's Black Gold tier came with its perks. Not only was he exempt from any transaction fees typically associated with the auction house, but he was also entitled to a 5% feedback bonus on the auction's final sale price. This combination of benefits only added to the already substantial windfall from the sale, giving him a total of 15 billion currency, a sum that filled him with delight, and with this, he could now sleep in peace, as he no longer had to worry about mundane concerns like finding a part-time job or settling for a regular 9-to-5. This is a new feeling he had never experienced before, but it is indeed addictive. And with that, another day had arrived, and Su Yung quickly rose from his bed, aware that complacency was not an option, especially when the part-time boss cooldown had been reset, and there is a new transcender trying to challenge the dungeon. It was none other than the renowned exploration team, known for being the dungeon killers, having conquered numerous dungeons and made strategies based on them. And he could see that there are also many 5-star professionals above 100 in the guild, so it seems like it is truly related to the incident that he recently made. But regardless of their intentions, since they only brought 6 people, they must be extremely confident in their abilities. And so Su Yang had resolved himself not to hold back and give them the hardest fate he could give as the Black Dragon. Lei Shan had met up with the strategy group members of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, which doubted Zhou Tai's complaints, but luckily, Zhou Tai, the leader of the group, stands on business and isn't controlled by his own pride, and therefore gives Lei Shan the benefit of the doubt. This led to a decision to accompany Lei Shan and verify his claims firsthand, which in turn put a smile on Lei Shan's face. Not because he wants to see the Black Dragon defeated, but he was particularly keen to witness the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's strategies fail in action, and he doesn't care if they were totally innocent or not. He just wants them to pay. Coincidentally, Su Yang's part-time boss cooldown had just reset, and seeing that there is a new transcender attempting to challenge the dungeon, he wasted no time transforming back into the formidable black-winged dragon Athos, ready to greet the newcomers with open arms. Now on to the next part. Su Yang, now fully transformed back into the formidable black dragon Athos, had immediately surveyed his domain, and as he looks down at his pawns, he noticed that the elite monsters that had previously died have been resurrected. But this did not surprise him. After all, the Black Dragon Fortress is only a diamond-level secret realm, which meant that it can be refreshed repeatedly like a game, and only secret realms that reach the star level or above can it be non-replicable. As he scanned the area, his attention was drawn to a silver-haired elf who remained in the vicinity, and from what Su Yang could piece together from Athos's memories, Athos looks at this elf like a beautiful companion. Which he ain't wrong, by the way. That damn dragon got some good taste. So it seems like that damn dragon is a cultured being as well. But then again, Su Yang couldn't help but wonder, how was this elven girl abducted? When he wasn't connected, the black dragon should have only acted according to established rules. But the answers to that could wait, since his immediate attention was required elsewhere as the exploration team had made their entrance. And so just like before, he utilized his dragon eye ability to look into their ranks. And sure enough, there are 5 fifth-level professionals who was approaching him confidently. Among them was Lei Shan from the Spirit Hunter Guild, clearly present to rectify their previous disastrous attempt, which Su Yang couldn't deny how impressive after-sales service of the exploration team. And their combat power is much stronger than Lei Shan's whole guild, posing a greater threat than before. Still, he remained confident in his control over the situation, certain that as long as they didn't seize the Dragon Slayer's heart, they could not inflict significant damage to him. But just to be safe, Su Yang decided to first assess their capabilities and weaknesses. He was not one to underestimate 5th-level professionals and their potential for unpredictability. With this in mind, he orchestrated a tactical move, commanding the dragon warriors under his control to launch a coordinated attack on the intruders. But before they left, he made sure to reserve one dragon warrior, holding it back from the assault, as he had other plans for it to accomplish. Meanwhile, the exploration team had easily dispatched the monsters that they encountered all the way, and they haven't encountered any anomalies at this point, making Lu Si think that the Spirit Hunter really deceived them after all, and was just deliberately looking for trouble. But the other two didn't consider what Lu Si was saying, as they haven't even been halfway through the dungeon yet, and so they just remind him to not be careless, as they could only judge after they take down the boss. But that would have to wait, as they noticed a large cloud of dust barreling towards them, and within this anomaly, they could feel the overwhelming sense of killing intent, unmistakably signaling the approach of a formidable enemy. But what they didn't expect is it came from so damn many, and they are all zooming at them at top speed, and with no signs of hesitation. The team quickly braced themselves for a confrontation, while Lei Shan took the opportunity to point out the parallels between this situation and his own recent experience, showing to them that he wasn't lying. But the problem now was that there are even more monsters compared before, and Zhou Tai had acknowledged that this was unexpected. Still, this level of threat can't affect their exploration team. And true to his words, Zhou Tai had set his orders, and his men had followed thoroughly, with each variation of special abilities, such as the Shadow Render to chip at the monster's health, the Mountain Barrier to hinder the monster's advances and trap them at one spot, and the Holy Light Blessing boosting Zhou Tai's strength, ensuring that his violent strike would be the final blow. With this, they killed the horde of monsters as efficiently as possibly could, showing to everyone how the pros do it. Even Su Yang, observing from a distance, couldn't deny their skill. Truly worthy of being 5-rank experts, they operated with a level of proficiency that seemed almost otherworldly, akin to immortals descending to flex their prowess. And that mysterious mage hasn't even made a move yet, making Su Yang realize that this fight would be far more challenging than his previous encounters with the Spirit Hunter Guild. So it looks like he has to take action himself, and so he did just that, outstretching his wings, and dip away just like what he did before, which elicited cheers from his minions while finding it oddly familiar, like somehow this happened already. And of course they don't remember this because of the dungeon reset rules that typically erase their memories of past events. But there is one entity that is exempt from this, as she is not an original habitant of this realm. It was none other than the elf. And the elf watched with growing confusion yet again. She struggled to understand why the black dragon, whom she had seen many times before in different circumstances, was suddenly displaying such aggressive behavior. This level of activity was unprecedented in her experience since her capture, so the same question lingers on her mind, wondering what had changed. Meanwhile, back to the exploration team. Lei Shan attempted to smooth things over by showering the team with compliments, referring to them as a top-notch strategic group under the Sky Pavilion banner. He then discussed the unexpected challenges they faced, pointing out discrepancies between their experiences and what was detailed in the strategy guides, thereby reinforcing his claim that he hadn't misled them. Zhu Tai acknowledged his concerns, assuring Lei Shan that they would investigate the matter further once they had completed the dungeon. However, Master Chen was unimpressed, especially since the monsters they had encountered thus far were mere trifles to him. He scoffed at Lei Shan's pride in his guild, derisively questioning how a guild that branded itself as Never Fail could struggle with such insignificant foes. And just like before, Lei Shan couldn't let such disrespect slide, so he was back with his bullshit and started speaking in Japanese, urging Master Chen to maintain the decorum expected of a leader. And with that, he found out that he massively F up because Master Chen isn't like anybody else he encountered before. This old-timer isn't planning to hold back his demons from coming out, as he was about to devour Lei Shan on the spot if he continues to nag like a little bitch that he was. Thankfully, Zhu Tai was quick to intervene, diffusing the rising tension by suggesting that Master Chen's harsh words were made in jest. His timely intercession wasn't driven by mere kindness, but by a strategic business sense. He understood that he can't let the old pervert to act whatever he pleases, because if Lei Shan were to be harmed, it could jeopardize future contracts and the team's reputation. Meanwhile, Lei Shan was so shook that he couldn't even move. The killing intent was so intense that he thought he was done for. However, this chilling encounter only fueled his desire to see these mofos get murked by the Black Dragon. And as if on cue, the Black Dragon made its grand appearance, affirming the validity of Lei Shan's earlier claims and catching everyone off guard. Still, as a first-rate team, they can't get themselves caught lacking. And so Zhou Tai swiftly coordinated his group, orchestrating a complex sequence of their combined abilities aimed at maximizing their attack efficiency. They try their best not to waste the opportunity they were given, and they are confident with it as they memorize the boss's attack patterns and cheesing its mechanics. But even with this knowledge, they noticed that they were not dealing any substantial damage to the boss, which surprised them. On the other hand, Su Yang remained unfazed, as he had anticipated this outcome from the start. He knew that even with these 5-star professionals couldn't deal much damage to him with his reduction talent still active. But to his surprise, these mofos haven't given up on attacking him, trying to chip his health as much as they could. And so he countered with an attack, but the hunters easily dodge it, which Su Yang expected, as the initial attack was just a diversion to attack the backline, catching the exploration team off guard yet again. Still, Zhu Tai was fast on his feet and was able to protect them, completely preventing Su Yang from eliminating the squishy members. Simultaneously, this opened an opportunity for Liu Si to make a backshot, and he was confident that he would hurt him, as this was his most powerful execution skill, as it can take down even small bosses in Starlight tier instances with millions of HP. But unfortunately for him, expectations rarely match reality, and this moment wasn't one of them, as he noticed that little damage he made to a Diamond tier boss. And with this, he realized that this boss's reduction rate is not to be messed with, but he was a little too late to be changing his mind now, as the boss tail hit him at full swing, almost killing him on the spot if not for the shield that the barrier master had casted to him. And with that, they went to his aid to make sure he could get up for another round. But my boy Su Yang ain't done with them, as he readies his breath of annihilation to kill them all together, which surprises the group as they expect this kind of ultimate skill to be only used when the boss's health is below 70%. But it seems like this wasn't the case, as the boss engulfed them with hellish flame. But as expected, things wouldn't be as exciting if they were just defeated like that. So the exploration team managed to block the attack with their own ultimate skill that reduces damage taken by allied forces inside the sanctuary by 90%, while continuously restores their health for 10 seconds, which Su Yang took more as a challenge than a threat, as he knows too well that this was the last defense skill of their barrier master could make this day, which meant that the next breath of annihilation would do the trick. Meanwhile, the exploration team were all shooked, making the others think that the boss had gained some intelligence, which wasn't a far-fetched assumption, as it seems like it understood their tactics and exploited their vulnerabilities. But Zhou Tai was not having it. He can't let his members' morale plummet even more, and so he told them that assumptions is worthless, as this boss is just a stone tier, so it wasn't possible for it to suddenly grow a brain. But Master Chen was growing impatient with these useless trash, and so he decided to step up and take action himself. And just like what necromancers do, he talks through the endless abyss of the underworld in order to call on forth the Bone Dragon Malthus, or what Sung Jinwoo liked to call it.
Correct.
And with that, an Ender Dragon had appeared to challenge Su Yang, and this completely surprised Su Yang. since necromancers are extremely rare special occupations. It is even said that a high-level necromancer can even summon undead creatures at the level of dungeon bosses. And by the looks of it, the dragon in front of him might just be comparable to him, but he could only answer this once they square up. And so he lets the necromancer lead the dragon to him, to test its might. And just as expected, this seemingly fragile bone dragon was actually packed with strength that it would take them forever if they fight just with their hands. And therefore Su Yang used his head to push the bone dragon in order to make a distance between them and give him the smoke. But Bone Daddy said bet, releasing its own breath attack, which collided with Su Yang's attack. But both of their powers were so intense that it sends shockwaves throughout the dungeon. And this display made everyone from the exploration team acknowledge how powerful Master Chen was, as his summon can easily go toe-to-toe with a boss like Athos. Meanwhile, Su Yang was equally impressed. However, that was all to it, as he haven't exerted his full strength, and since there is nothing for this bone dragon can show to intrigue Su Yang, he decided to use the maximum output of his breath of annihilation, engulfing the entirety of the bone dragon in his hellish fire breath. And with that, only bones were left from his opponents while Su Yang stood tall and mighty. But to his surprise, this Bone Daddy wasn't done, as it quickly resurrected, just as it was annihilated. This shows the capability of Master Chen, a true master of necromancy. As long as there are fresh corpses lying about, he can continue resurrecting his summon infinitely. Now fully recovered, the bone dragon easily sweeps Su Yang's feet, knocking him off balance, and then proceeds to murk him, pinning him to the ground for a direct fire breath assault, which drains his HP fast. And with this, Su Yang realized that he was in danger if this continues, and so he whipped his tail to cut that shit out, and used his wings to fly the fuck away from his opponents, assuming the bone dragon couldn't fly since, well, its wings are bare bones after all. And truly, the dragon couldn't, and so Master Chen just ordered it to attack him from the distance, which Su Yang easily dodges. But this maneuver isn't just to dodge the attack, but to also position himself to attack the defenseless Master Chen, which Master Chen quickly took notice of, prompting him to command the bone dragon to come back to him and protect. But this was all according to plan. Su Yang wasn't really intending to use his range skill to attack, but instead used the bone dragon's whole body to yeet him over to the necromancer, which was very effective, as Master Chen ate that shit up like it was a food tax. But surprisingly, Master Chen still had a substantial amount of HP left, a near miracle for someone of his supposedly fragile class. So it seems like he got some help from the Barrier Master as well, sharing half the damage taken throughout the team. A round of applause to this MVP right here. Half of them would have been dead if it weren't for him. And it turns out, they weren't just getting beaten like a rag doll for nothing, as it revealed that they were actually buying time for Liu Ci's anticipated return, which they calculated that he should appear any moment now. Unfortunately, what they didn't calculate is that the boss they were facing understood what they are saying. And with this, Su Yang realized that Liu Ci is definitely retrieving the heart of the Dragon Slayer, but it's too late to do anything now, as clouds of smoke had suddenly appeared and was closing in the distance, which made the hunters delighted as they expected it to be Liu Ci. But that's what Su Yang wanted them to think, and Su Yang was actually playing 4D chess from the very start. He got that menace behavior in check, getting his enemy's hopes up only to tear it down in an instant. As it turns out, the figure that was running towards them wasn't Liu Ci but one of the dragon's minion. The very dragon Su Yang had strategically held back, making sure to get the heart of the Dragon Slayer for himself, and not anyone else. This sight had shocked everyone, particularly for Zhou Tai, who watched in disbelief as his perceptions crumbled. The creature they had dismissed as a mere game boss demonstrated a chilling intellect, orchestrating their movements as if they were mere pawns in its grand strategy. And with the heart of the Dragon Slayer now in the dragon's possession, it seemed invincible, and the group's hope of defeating the dragon dwindled rapidly. However, the unfolding events took an unexpected turn when the dragon made contact with the heart. A brilliant light surged through the beast's formidable form, and a powerful aura emanated from it, unknown to the hunters. This contact had triggered hidden conditions within the realm. The Black Dragon's fortress, previously a formidable diamond-tier secret realm, began its transformation, escalating to a starlight-tier fortress, a level of difficulty that not just any party, but an entire guild would struggle to conquer. Previous chapter, the exploration team ventured into the Black Dragon dungeon, facing unexpected events just as Lei Shan had previously reported, confirming that he hadn't misled them. Despite the initial surprise, their confidence remained high, and they pressed forward, only to be prematurely confronted by Athos, the dungeon boss. Unprepared and lacking the necessary item to negate the boss's innate abilities, the team found themselves outmatched, reduced to mere punching bags. Determined not to succumb without a fight, Master Chen took the lead to distract Athos while Liu Ci attempted to stealthily retrieve the Dragon Slayer's heart. However, their plans quickly unraveled as Athos, having anticipated their strategy, seized the heart first. This move left the team in shock, but even more astounding was what followed. Upon touching the pendant, a powerful surge enveloped Athos, triggering a hidden condition that escalated the Black Dragon Fortress from Diamond Tier to Starlight level difficulty, significantly intensifying the challenge they faced. Now on to the next part. Inside the Transformation Temple, urgency gripped the senior priest and the accompanying nun as they rushed to uncover the origins of a mysterious surge in spiritual energy. This unusual aura, originating from what seemed to be a hidden realm, was particularly alarming to the senior priest, who hadn't anticipated such phenomena impacting the real world. The unexpected nature of this event left her with a deep sense of foreboding, fearing that it heralded significant upheavals in their world. Simultaneously, back in the depths of the Black Dragon's dungeon, the gathered hunters were astounded. The concept of a hidden realm evolving in such a manner was unheard of. Even the dragon they were battling had upgraded its whole drip, and with this, they knew exactly they were about to get their ass whooped. Amidst this chaos, Su Yang reveled in the newfound strength coursing through him. The surge had not only elevated his level to 100 but had also advanced him to the early growth stage, significantly boosting his attributes. His excitement peaked when he discovered he had unlocked a new Starlight level skill called Purifying Inferno Prison. This skill, which dealt a staggering 1000% in both magical and physical damage, also possessed a chilling hidden ability. It could prevent hunters from resurrecting if they were killed by it, giving Su Yang the discretion to choose who could return from the dead. In a world where death was usually just a temporary setback, this skill was a game-changer, introducing a level of peril previously unseen, prompting for Su Yang to ask the system about what was going on, which the system clarified that everything had occurred due to the Dragon Slayer's heart he had obtained. And with this, Su Yang pieced together that the Black Dragon was originally meant to be at a Starlight level of strength, but the presence of the heart had suppressed the boss's innate racial traits, causing it to operate at a reduced capacity leading to its downgrade. But with the heart now in his possession, the system recalibrated the difficulty, upgrading to what it's supposed to be. And although the implications of the dragon reaching what was termed the early growth stage remained unclear, the whole situation has completely changed now, as these hunters are no longer a significant threat to him. As he was processing this revelation, he caught sight of a figure approaching rapidly from the corner of his eye. It was Liu Ci, returning to report his failure to find the Dragon Slayer's heart. But as he got close, he was taken aback by the dragon's transformed appearance, momentarily making him wonder what had happened. But all of this thought process was all thrown out of the window as he noticed that the dragon was holding the heart. And with the look on his face, Zhu Tai exactly knew what Liu Ci was up to, and so he quickly warned him to stop and just come back to their ranks. But Liu Ci was a stupid bastard who didn't read the notification, and was overly confident of his skills. And so he zoomed into the boss without a second thought, believing that the boss couldn't keep up with his speed. And so the boss proceeded to dog on him, killing him for real this time, while his teammates could only watch helplessly from the sidelines as he was violated like that. And now that things turn out like this, Lei Shan turned to Zhou Tai, urgently inquiring about their next move. But Zhou Tai just hesitated, fully aware that star-level realm bosses typically required a team of 10 to 25 awakened players for a chance at victory. Given their small number, their chances were bleak, leaving retreat as the only viable option. This decision weighed heavily on Zhou Tai, striking a blow to his pride. But he recognized that survival was paramount. Without hesitation, he led the charge towards the exit, signaling for everyone to follow swiftly. Master Chen, however, found Zhou Tai's cautious approach almost amusing and openly questioned it. Still, Zhou Tai, unfazed by the critique, knew that engaging the dragon under these conditions would be reckless. His pragmatic leadership in this critical moment underscored his suitability for command, prioritizing the safety of his team over personal glory. Even Su Yang, observing from afar, acknowledged Zhou Tai's prudent decision, yet he wasn't about to let them escape so effortlessly. With a powerful beat of his wings, he surged towards the fleeing hunters. In an instant, he was upon them, his arrival as forceful as thunder, smashing into the ground with devastating impact. He effectively blocked their path, sealing off their only route of escape. Still, Zhou Tai wasn't going to fold under pressure, so he maintained his composure and quickly directed his team to amplify their defensive capabilities, hoping to muster enough strength to break through the boss and make it out alive, as it is all they need to achieve. But things wouldn't be as easy as before, as the Barrier Master had already used all his trump card, and Su Yang knows about this, which is why he didn't hesitate to use his Breath of Annihilation. And with his amplified strength from ascending to a new rank, his attack easily shattered the hunter's defenses, and Lei Shan and the healer was down for the count, leaving Jotai and the barrier master barely holding their ground. And with low health and mana, they knew that there was no hope for escape. And so Jotai issued a last resort command for the team to secure their valuable possessions within their infinite rings, hoping to minimize their losses. But this doesn't sit well with Master Chen. He was unwilling to concede defeat so readily, especially to a boss that he had killed 1,000 times before, and he was still confident in defeating this dragon since he knows all its abilities like the back of his hand. Even if it has advanced to a star-level boss, he believes that he can still kill it once more. And with this, he summons all the undead souls he could summon in the area to fight Athos in an all-out war, using the Cloudwater Legion, which summon all dead creatures on the battlefield, with an infinite duration of time until the caster depletes his own mana and health. This desperate move was an all-out effort to turn the tide against Athos, hoping that sheer numbers would be suffice. But things won't go as Master Chen pleased, as the dragon just casually sweep his tail to get rid of them, leaving the bone dragon the only one standing, which attacks him with its dragon breath. But this time Athos remained unfazed, as this attack isn't effective anymore. And so he showed him what's what, completely disrespecting it by pushing down its head like one of his bitches, demonstrating who the real boss is, effectively silencing Master Chen's defiance. But still, Master Chen regained his composure and grins with the ugliest face you could ever see, as he clings to the fact that hunters are immortal in this world. So even if he fails this time, he will just come back to torment him again and again until he devours his soul completely. And with this disrespect and the way this pervert talks, Su Yang made up his mind to make a sample out of him, and demonstrate to the world why a dragon of his caliber should never be underestimated. Activating his newly acquired skill, the Purifying Inferno Prison, unleashing a catastrophic wave of fire and magic, annihilating all the hunters in the vicinity, and the hunters disappeared as if they were mere illusions, all except Master Chen. Despite being engulfed in excruciating flames, Chen continued to taunt Athos with a twisted grin, clinging to his belief in the hunter's immortality. But this is about to change as the dragon informed Chen that there won't be a next time, and suddenly his grin fades, as the realization flooded through his melting brain. He noticed he had been here far longer than usual, and his HP had reached 0 a while ago. So why hasn't the transfer had started? And why does his body falling apart? This question lingers his mind like the time has slowed down, but deep in his heart, he completely knew why that is, but he was still in denial. And so Su Yang delivered the chilling truth that Chen had been denying, and that he no longer have a chance of resurrection. And with this, Master Chen's final screams echoed briefly before abruptly ceasing, leaving only Athos standing triumphantly. And he gained a lot of experience points, amounting to a total of 9.9 million, which instantly levels him up from level 34 to level 40, and still has an overflowing XP of 5.99 million. A few moments later, inside the somber headquarters of the exploration team, the heavy silence was palpable, each member grappling with the aftermath of their disastrous raid. This silence was suddenly shattered when the priest burst through the door, bringing grave news about Master Chen. As the team feared, there was no sign of Chen reappearing at the main headquarters of their guild. More alarmingly, all records of Master Chen had vanished from their system, an ominous sign that suggested either a deliberate erasure or something far worse, and that he completely died. This assumption had struck everyone deeply, because if this was true, not only did the dragon ignore their level protection mechanism, but it also forcibly erased a hunter's existence. And just the thought of it makes Jotai shiver. And with this, he realized that this is no longer a problem they can solve. And so he decided that the best course of action was to compensate the Spirit Hunt Guild for their losses, and leave the broader implications and decisions to the higher-ups at headquarters. But that said and done, one detail nagged at him, and that Master Chen was the only one killed even though they had received the same attack from the dragon. This discrepancy suggested the involvement of a specific mechanism, or perhaps a chilling possibility. The dragon had intentionally spared the others, which one of which is true. It is equally terrifying. Meanwhile, back at Su Yang's residence, he was finally taking a well-deserved rest. The recent battles had been mentally exhausting. His opponents were significantly stronger than those from the Spirit Hunter Guild, requiring much more effort on his part. However, he wasn't complaining. His hard work had clearly paid off, affirming that the guild was indeed worthy of its S-class rating. Among the loot he acquired was a variety of powerful equipment and single-use items, but two things particularly caught his eye. First was the star-level dagger named Shadow's Bloodthirst. This exceptional weapon didn't just boost his attributes. It offered two unique features. The first feature, Shadow's Body, granted him temporary invisibility and a 50% increase in speed. The second feature, Compassion Mark, allowed him to mark a target to launch a stealth attack that would inflict 300% increased damage. And the second standout item was a legendary skill scroll called the 5 Charges Storm Thunderblade, true to its name. This skill could be charged up to 5 times to unleash a devastating storm of blades, a testament to its formidable power. These incredible finds made Su-yang feel extraordinarily fortunate. Previously, he had secured a Diamond-tier weapon, and now he had upgraded to a Starlight-tier weapon. The best part was, unlike the Call of the Storm, there were no restrictions on using the Shadow's Bloodthirst dagger, allowing him to equip it immediately and enhance his combat capabilities. Additionally, the skill scroll was particularly powerful, capable of instantly killing a 4th-tier hunter, and notably it came without any usage restrictions, making it truly terrifying, which really excites Su-yang. And now that he had reached level 40, he considered that it's time for his second awakening, as it is a waste to have excess experience, so the earlier he gets to awaken the better. However, before heading off to the transfer temple for his awakening, Su-yang felt compelled to confirm if the undead mage named Chen Lun was actually dead, and so he queried the system, which not only confirmed Chen Lun's demise, but also commended Su-yang for his decision. The system had analyzed Chen Lun and identified him as a significant threat, capable of growing even stronger and potentially defeating Su-yang, especially if he obtained the Dragon Slayer's heart. Moreover, the system revealed a critical rule. If Su-yang, while acting as a boss, was defeated by other hunters, he would die immediately. This revelation made Su-yang realize the stakes were much higher, and that fighting high-tier hunters involved risks far greater than he initially thought. But still, with the ability he had displayed previously, he is confident that the hunters are taking caution as well, and probably won't dare to come and challenge him anytime soon. Speaking of which, he remembered that Starlight-tier bosses are called true spirit creatures, and have their own consciousness. And so he asks the system if the black dragon he was controlling might have developed its own consciousness during his absence, to which the system clarified that the dragon had not gained intelligence due to its unique status as a system-controlled boss. It explained that any boss matched and animated by the system has its potential for consciousness directly eradicated, regardless of its level. Furthermore, when the host is not connected, the boss will act according to established rules and behavior patterns. In addition, if the host kills the part-time boss, the system will automatically match him with other higher-level bosses, equipped with stronger capabilities, ensuring the challenges remain rigorous with unlimited potential. And this immediately excites Su-yang, as this system is far more engaging and stronger than he previously assumed. And killing the black dragon isn't impossible since he got this pendant that will make things easier. And Su-yang could feel like everything is just falling into place for him. And not only this pendant a single tool for killing the dragon, it also has an attribute that he could unseal with the right item. And with how amazing it is, he really felt the need to unseal it, as it gives a boost of 50% in his total spirit points, and a 100% boost in his total strength. And the abilities are not something he could ignore either. Not only it lets him ignore a dragon's racial talent, but he could even have a 500% increased damage when he is dealing with them. Additionally, it held the potential to summon the blood soul of an ancient hero to fight alongside him in battle, a formidable ally that could only be summoned after slaying a giant dragon race on his own. While the requirement to accumulate charges for each dragon killed presented a challenging hurdle, as he currently had none, Su-yang was determined not to bypass such an opportunity. He was convinced that the blood soul referred to a dragon-slaying hero, a figure of immense combat prowess, far surpassing even a 5th-level professional. And with this super minion in his disposal, there is no one he would cower away from anymore. And with this, Su-yang resolved to defeat the black dragon as soon as possible, in order to change his part-time boss and also unlock a powerful summon. But first, he needed to advance to a 2nd-tier hunter to fully leverage his newfound capabilities, and so he headed straight to the Transformation Temple. Meanwhile, in front of the Transformation Temple, Senior Priest Bai Ling stood gracefully, her beauty catching the eyes of many who passed by. Her presence at the temple entrance sparked curiosity and envy among the onlookers. They wondered about the identity of the person she was evidently waiting for, as it isn't every day that a priestess of her stature would wait at the door for someone. The thought that someone had the status to make Bai Ling wait led to whispers and admiration from the crowd, who longed for such attention themselves, and that someone turned out to be Su-yang. As he approached, Bai Ling greeted him warmly, addressing him as hero, which took him by surprise, prompting for Su-yang to ask her what with his title, and how she knew of his arrival. To which she proudly explained that the temple's transformation statue emits a guiding light as a signal when the VIP of the temple is about to arrive. And there is only one VIP in the entire East City. And as for the title, it is simply the temple's requirement, so he doesn't need to pay too much attention to it, which he understood, but deep inside he felt a deep cringe within him, as he felt like the title just makes him an edgy weirdo. But still, he was here to awaken, and so he just let it be. And with that, he accepted the 5-star transformation task once again. This task was particularly challenging, requiring him to solo clear a silver tier instance and defeat the boss within 3 minutes of encountering it. Although such instances typically required a team effort due to their difficulty, for a hunter of Su Yang's caliber, it was just another manageable challenge. Meanwhile, Bailing commended Su Yang for accepting another 5-star task, deeming him worthy of the title Hero, as bestowed by the temple. This mention made Su Yang cringe once again, prompting him to swiftly change the subject by inquiring if she possessed a map of the silver tier instances near their city. Thankfully, Bailing did have such a map, and she promptly handed it over to Su Yang. This map not only detailed the silver tier instances but also included information about the refresh, locations and times for bronze and gold tier dungeons, a treasure trove for Su Yang's future endeavors. And with the map in hand, Su Yang was ready to depart. But Bailing stopped him momentarily to offer a word of caution. She warned him about a recent terrible accident in one of the dungeons, where the difficulty had unexpectedly increased, leading to the disappearance of a professional hunter. Additionally, she informed him that the low-level wilderness areas had been crowded lately, often resulting in bloody conflicts due to the competition for dungeon access. She urged him to exercise extra caution in his ventures, which Su Yang was thankful for. But with the power he now possessed, and the amount of low-level dungeons around East Spirit City, he should be able to find 2 silver tier 1s and clear it with ease. But, unfortunately for Su Yang, things didn't go according to plan. The dungeons he targeted were already occupied and overcrowded, and it would take him hours just to wait for his turn, turning the quest to find a dungeon more challenging than clearing one, which made him wonder if the silver tier 1s are worth the deal for with these number of players rating it. And even after unsuccessfully running through 8 dungeons, he began to think that perhaps his recent luck with acquiring equipment was now being balanced out by these challenges. It felt like the universe was correcting the scale of his recent fortunes. But despite the setbacks, Su Yang wasn't ready to give up, so he continued his quest, eventually arriving at the entrance of the Cave of Suffering, a dungeon nestled within a canyon. To his dismay, he found the area overcrowded, which initially made him consider to leave and find another dungeon. But as he scanned the crowd, he recognized a familiar face. It was Zukian and that annoying son of a gun Wang Fei, and they are arguing over the rights to enter the dungeon. And seeing Wang Fei almost convinced Su Yang to steer clear of this dungeon altogether, but he remembered that Zukian is a member of the Yun Yun Guild, and it is a sister guild of their Phantom Cloud Guild, so he can't let some fool mess with them like that. And since they are all acquainted, it should be easier to negotiate when it comes to fighting later, and this might be his chance to enter a silver tier dungeon today, so why not? After upgrading his dragon form, Su Yang gained a powerful skill that allowed him to permanently eliminate any hunter, which he demonstrated by killing the necromancer Chen Lun, shocking the hunter community. Meanwhile, Su Yang was celebrating as he had collected a significant number of items from the exploration team. And now that he's at level 40, he promptly visited the transfer temple and accepted a challenging 5-star task, which required him to clear 2 silver tier dungeons, and defeat each dungeon's boss within 3 minutes of encountering them. A daunting task for any typical hunter. But Su Yang was far from ordinary. However, finding an unoccupied dungeon proved difficult due to hunters seeking safer dungeons after what he had done. Still, he persevered, and after his 9th attempt, he finally found a dungeon that was still undecided on who would enter first. To his advantage, both Zukian and Wang Fei were present, making negotiation easier since he knew them from before. And so immediately he went ahead to say hi. Now on to the next part. Meanwhile, on Zukian's side, the situation was turning uncomfortable. Members of Wang Fei's group began showing unwelcome attention towards her, a true incel behavior which immediately made her uneasy. Fortunately, she wasn't alone and had robust backup to fend off these freaks. And the way she utilizes that blade, I knew she was lit. And her name is Heilan, a level 61 hybrid class ranger swordsman. That explains why her outfit's kind of fire. And she even looks like a younger Baiken from Guilty Gear. And her ability isn't to be messed with either, as she is already a 3rd-tier awakener. And with her presence, that scrawny-ass Wang Fei felt threatened and quickly retreated, hiding behind a colleague who was also a formidable 3rd-tier hunter. And this guy has a massive build, like he had been on steroids from day one. But don't let his looks fool you, as he is a skilled martial artist, so you know he can run them hands, and he ain't a fool either. As he wasted no time in escalating the situation, warning Heilan that if their group wanted to enter the dungeon now, it would mean a fight, and he can promise her that he and the others will jump on all of them, and they won't even spare the newbies. And this threat left Heilan speechless. She knew it herself that they are outmatched, since the members she is with now are all low-level newcomers. If they have to really fight, they are bound to lose. But if they back down now, who knows what these guys would do next to take advantage of the situation. And so she was thinking of taking the first strike to get some edge. But Big Guy's observation hockey is of the charts as he took notice of Heilan's decision. Luckily, before they could fight, Su Yang arrived on the scene and took dibs on the dungeon, which surprised the two as their first impression of him was just a low-class nobody who likes to run his mouth. Shukian, on the other hand, was both shocked and relieved to see him, as the last time she had seen him was at the teleportation center, and while she was glad he was safe, she couldn't help but worry about why he was provoking both groups' heavy hitters. And Wang Fei, who also recognized Su Yang, couldn't hide his irritation and confronted him, demanding to know why Su Yang always seemed to be in his way. But Su Yang responded, flipping the accusation back at Wang Fei by likening him to an annoying fly that keeps showing up uninvited wherever he goes. This taunt slightly irritated Wang Fei, but the boy knows not to be caught tweaking, especially when he got a huge backup with him. And he was confident that this guy can just disintegrate Su Yang with a flick of his finger, and Big Guy is really feeling the glazing made by Wang Fei. So he mockingly asks Su Yang to kneel down and asks for forgiveness to them just to spare his life. But Su Yang just ignored these mofos and went ahead to greet Shukian warmly, prompting for Heilan to quickly ask Shukian who Su Yang was to her, to which she explained that he was an old classmate, which confused Heilan, because that would imply Su Yang was at a similar level to Zukian. And if so, why on earth Su Yang would have this amount of audacity to provoke them third-tier hunters, leading her to assume that maybe this Su Yang is just an idiot that doesn't know where he was, and so she informed him about the dungeon's high difficulty. To her surprise, Su Yang informed them that he was aware of the dungeon's level. That's why he is here in the first place, since it is a requirement for his second transfer task. This immediately surprised Heilan, unable to understand how Su Yang could have advanced to level 40 in just a few days. But before she could process all of this, Wang Fei had enough of being a side character, especially when Su Yang had been acting like a big shot all day as if he wasn't a low-class warrior. And so he gets between them and showcased a little bit of his power to intimidate, and he challenged Su Yang to open his personal information for everyone to see his level. If not, then he should just stop pretending and just kneel before them. But unfortunately for Wang Fei, Su Yang was itching to teach this fucker another lesson. And seeing that he is now at level 10 makes this more interesting. Because unlike before when Wang Fei was at level 2, he could finally kill him, knowing that he can just resurrect later.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
And with a flick of his finger, he turned Wang Fei into a donut-shaped human, and the stupid idiot doesn't even have a clue on what happened. And with that, Wang Fei was killed on the spot, while Su Yang retrieves his item like Yondu. Instantly, the big guy rushed in to respond in kind, but Su Yang got that ultra instinct activated again, drip dodging it so casually. But the big guy didn't care none about that, as he was fuming to kill Su Yang on the spot, especially when he just killed one of his guild members that he was supposed to take care of. But unfortunately, Su Yang does not see him as a threat. As a matter of fact, he just decided today that he wanted every bit of smoke down to its molecular level. And so he even asks the samurai bitch to tag along with their fight, so he won't have to deal with this process again later. Which instantly pisses off Heilan, because even if it was true that he was here for Second Awakening, they are still one tier above him, and challenging the two of them makes this on another level of disrespect. And personally, she can't let that slide, so even if he was Jukian's friend, she stepped in and teamed up with the big guy to put this arrogant newcomer in his place and teach him a lesson about respect, and they ain't giving him a head start, attacking him in a coordinated manner. And the big guy came to him swinging, but Su Yang easily dodges all the punches that was thrown at him, making the big guy doubt his own speed. But his own pride wouldn't let that happen, and so he changed things up with his own special move, the Thunder Tiger Fist, giving Su Yang a powerful right-handed hook. But Su Yang absorbed the hit without even flinching and just returned it to sender, blasting the big guy like it was a home run. But this move made a wide opening for a backshot, which Heilan didn't pass on the opportunity, but it was effortlessly blocked by a crystal barrier, a shield activated by Su Yang, using a one-time scroll that could absorb up to 80,000 points of damage. And that sword strike just now barely even scratched half of the shield value, revealing the high caliber of the scroll Su Yang had used, which immediately made Heilan take a moment to reassess the situation, and therefore she noticed the weapon in Su Yang's hands, which was clearly superior to gold-tier equipment. So it seems like Su Yang isn't an ordinary newcomer. As a matter of fact, the way Su Yang instantly killed that ice mage earlier made a lot of sense to her now. It was so fast that she could barely see it, and so if she continues to battle Su Yang now, she might get the same fate as the ice mage. But before she could say anything, the big guy had regained consciousness from his light nap, and came out raging, as he declared that he won't rest until he kills Su Yang. But Su Yang had enough of bullshit for one day, and so he pulls out the power of his sword, as he had to make sure to put this big guy to sleep for real this time. After that display, Su Yang turned to Heilan and inquired if she wished to continue their duel. But Heilan recognized that she was significantly outclassed, so she quickly sheathed her sword, a gesture that Su Yang appreciated, given the affiliation between their guilds. This info surprised Heilan, but before she could respond, Su Yang just asked her to convey an apology to her guild leader on his behalf, as he will have to take down the dungeon first. And with that, Su Yang had entered the Cave of Suffering all on his own. But contrary to its foreboding name, the interior was surprisingly beautiful, as giant crystal gems are all over the place, illuminating the space so bright shadows were a rare sight. Speaking of which, aside from the Black Dragon Fortress, this is actually his first time entering a wild dungeon officially, which he found quite refreshing. And this dungeon is supposed to be the lair of goblins, a species he hadn't seen personally, but he won't have to search for long, as a goblin archer came out in hiding to welcome him with an arrow to the head. But this just disappoints Su Yang, as he felt its attempt to kill him was nothing short of pathetic. But this is what the goblins want you to think. They are great with tricks, creating a ploy to get him overconfident for a sneaky surprise attack. Luckily for him, his instincts were so heightened that he managed to hit that quick time event and yeet that mofo to his friend for an easy double kill. But after that encounter, Su Yang realized that this dungeon is more sinister than initially thought, and so he made a decision to be extra careful and not be overconfident. And he was thinking this, he thought about his previous battle with the big guy and realized that he mostly relied on his attributes to overpower the enemies, which is a bad habit because if he encounters a stronger opponent, he will have to rely on his battle IQ and skills to determine the outcome, and the opportunity to face such cunning opponents is rare. So he will have to use these mobs as practice to hone his skill with his magic blade. With this in mind, he ventured deeper into the dungeon where even the brilliant light of the crystals failed to penetrate, creating perfect conditions for an ambush, which is what he wanted. And so he wasted no time using his magic blade to transform it into a shield, deflecting those scrawny-ass goblins. And as they rebounded off the shield, he seamlessly morphed it into a hammer to then proceed beating the light out of them. But these sneaky goblins didn't waste an opportunity to sneak attack once more. But just like before, Su Yang dodged it with ease, and the next thing you know, his mana blade had already converted into a crossbow and stylishly killed them while he was in midair. But being on the counterattacking side is not his style, so he decided to pull a train on these mobs to show them what he's really capable of. And so he started to use them legs and zoom in all around the dungeon to attract all the monsters. And once they were in a narrow area, he faced these mobs and plunged his 40-meter great sword onto them and started penetrating. And with how big his attack was, all the mobs who were chasing him are now dead. This mana blade of his is truly versatile, and so he is increasingly looking forward to what new skills the 5 transfer task will give him next. But since he was close to the dungeon boss's location, it had noticed his presence, and therefore show up to face him next. And as the final boss of a goblin's lair, Su Yang didn't expect to be fighting a tiger, so he assumed that maybe the pet had become the master, which he finds quite humorous. And just like any other boss, it has the ability to talk, which it used to talk smack at him for even appearing before him. But since it was just a low-level boss, the dialogue feels unnatural and fixed, signifying that the boss below Starlight level truly doesn't have consciousness. With this in mind, Su Yang knew he got this in the bag. As soon as the tiger was done circling around him, it went in for a strike to his opening. But little did it knew, Su Yang had already masterfully used his demon blade to run into the tiger midair. And as soon as the tiger touches the ground, it was dead already. And with that, Su Yang successfully cleared the silver tier dungeon and killed the boss under 3 minutes after encountering it. So he only needed one more dungeon to get his mission done. And so he quickly moved on to the next dungeon. As he got out, he noticed other hunters keeping a cautious distance. And so he asks them why that is, because as far as he knows, he's not going to eat them. To which they explain that they are just being silly, so he doesn't have to mind them and just go on his way. And so he did just that. But as he left, unease was evident on the woman's face, and it was understandable as it had taken Su Yang only 5 minutes to complete the notorious Cave of Suffering. This feat left everyone questioning what kind of formidable force he truly was. Zukian in particular found it hard to believe. It felt like just yesterday they were schoolmates, yet now it seemed they existed in entirely different worlds. Shortly afterward, Su Yang entered another silver tier dungeon. He dispatched the boss with such ease that it seemed almost trivial, effectively turning the formidable enemy into nothing more than a donut. And with this victory, Su Yang completed the challenging 5-star transfer tasks assigned to him, and due to his flawless execution, the system recognized his prowess and unlocked a hidden transfer mission titled Phase 1, The Lost Rusty Key. This new mission included a map marking a location where a fearsome beast apparently guarded something significant. And should he succeed, the rewards promised were a 5% increase in all his attributes and a legendary skill book. And it seems like this mission was intricately linked to his class development and involved a series of tasks that would unlock new stages with each subsequent transfer. These hidden missions come with a 48-hour timer and can be abandoned without affecting his normal transfer tasks. But ain't no way he was gonna let this opportunity slide. Just the 5% increase in all attributes is already enough to tempt him, not to mention the legendary skill book. And with its title, there is definitely a second phase, making the value of pursuing these 5-star tasks more than what he had initially thought. With this in mind, he accepted the task. And since the target area of the mission is the advanced wilderness area of Tianling City, with an average monster level of over 40, Su Yang knows not to take this challenge lightly, and that so-called terrifying beast must be over level 50. A true challenge for Su Yang that he even felt no one at the same level can complete. But he isn't like any other, as he got Starlight-grade weapon in his disposal. So it seems like he has to unlock this weapon first before he tries to complete this hidden task. But unlocking a diamond-grade or higher weapon requires not only complete boundless gems, but also a Grandmaster Blacksmith to socket them. The problem now is that there are no such figures in Dangling City. But as he was thinking this, he was reminded that the branch of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion is now at Tianling City, who not only sell dungeon strategies, but also had extensive general information. So it seemed like it was the perfect time to visit them. Moreover, he had heard that the pavilion was a member of the X-Alliance, making him curious what would their reaction be when they saw his black. Previous chapter, Su Yang had just completed his 5-star mission with flawless precision, therefore unlocking a secret quest. This new challenge required him to venture into the advanced wilderness area of Tianling City, where the average monster level was 40. Recognizing the danger, he decided to unlock the Starlight tier weapon first. But this required the expertise of a Grandmaster Blacksmith, and Su Yang had no idea where to find one. Fortunately, the exploration team of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was in Tianling City, making them his best bet for this crucial information. And so obviously he set off to pay them a visit. Now on to the next part. Su Yang entered the bustling city of Tianling, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he approached his destination, he was struck by the sheer number of people flocking to purchase strategies. It was truly a testament to the city's reputation for housing the leading strategy group. The sight left Su Yang both impressed and nervous. After all, he had just sold his items and officially ascended to the ranks of the nouveau riche, which was a bit embarrassing given the circumstances. Still, he pressed forward and entered the building, but he was met with more impatient customers, who were jostling and arguing to secure their place in line. The noise was almost deafening, each person desperate to get their hands on the coveted strategies. But Su Yang's attention was quickly diverted when he unexpectedly got a glimpse of Zhou Tai and Liu Ci in his peripheral vision. He didn't expect to run to them this quick, and their conversation immediately drew him in. Liu Ci was expressing his frustration to Zhou Tai about the loss of his Starlight level weapon, hoping for some form of reimbursement. But Zhou Tai was firm in his response, stating that there would be no compensation, especially after they had caused Chen Lun's downfall. He reminded Liu Ci that the headquarters had shown leniency by not punishing them further, and he should be grateful for that. But Liu Ci, being the asswipe that he was not satisfied with Zhou Tai's explanation. His frustration boiled over, and therefore lashed out on the closest furniture he could violate, which was coincidentally hurled towards Su Yang. But my boy isn't planning to let that slide, even if that mofo is several levels ahead of him, and so he confronts Liu Ci without hesitation. But the sheer audacity of the act fueled Liu Ci's anger even more, and so a fight was about to happen. But surprisingly, instead of throwing them hands, Liu Ci just approached Su Yang and gripped him by the collar, attempting to intimidate him, which immediately made Su Yang laugh in his face, as it became clear to Su Yang that Liu Ci was already on thin ice and couldn't afford to escalate the situation further. He can't do nothing to him. But still the growing tension was palpable, and so Zhou Tai stepped in to defuse the situation. He reminded Liu Ci to be mindful of his image and urged Su Yang to step back, explaining that they were dealing with personal matters. Su Yang, however, was not one to be easily dismissed, so he voiced his disappointment at their treatment, highlighting that he was an esteemed guest of the pavilion who had come seeking information. But his statement was only met with skepticism and disdain, because to them, Su Yang appeared to be nothing more than a broke low-level adventurer, and as a high-end strategy group, their services were not meant for someone like him. Even Liu Ci was looking more reasonable compared to this newbie who likes to pretend that he is a big shot, and so they were about to teach this fraud a lesson. But before that happens, Su Yang whipped out his black gold card to show them who he was. But Liu Ci, being the brain-rotten fool that he was, didn't recognize its significance and swept it away from Su Yang. completely surprising him and putting him in a tough spot. I swear this guy's head is empty. Dealing with such an idiot is really impossible. Luckily for Su Yang, the level 120 Grand Steward of the city, Jia Yue, arrived at the scene just in the nick of time. This arrival shocked both Zhou Tai and Liu Ci, as they had been eagerly anticipating Jia Yue's presence. But their words of welcome didn't mean much to Jia Yue, who was rather pissed off by what he had witnessed. He couldn't believe the unprofessional behavior displayed by his own people. Furious, he smacked the living daylights out of Liu Ci for his oversight. This caught Liu Ci off guard. As his brother-in-law, Jia Yue had never treated him this way, and so Liu Ci wanted to know why he was being treated so harshly. But Jia Yue didn't feel the need to explain himself to such a fool. Instead, he went straight to Su Yang and apologized for any troubles his subordinates had caused. And Su Yang, already feeling gratified by the Grand Steward's apology, decided to let the matter slide. With that out of the way, Jia Yue expressed how impressed he was with Su Yang, being so young, yet already possessing a black gold card from the X-Alliance could only mean one thing, and that Su Yang had completed a 5-star transfer task and obtained VIP privileges for the class transfer. Su Yang confirmed this, earning Jia Yue's admiration. Realizing the need to take care of such a talented individual, Jia Yue quickly turned to Zhou Tai and ordered him to ensure that Su Yang was treated with the utmost respect. Zhou Tai bowed in understanding, while Liu Ci still unable to comprehend what had just happened. And so Jia Yue then dragged Liu Ci across the room to discipline his foolish brother-in-law and discuss their next dungeon raid. This information was a welcome surprise to Su Yang, indicating that he needed to up his game, as the pavilion was gearing up for a significant move. And after Jia Yue and Liu Ci had left, Zhou Tai approached Su Yang with a more respectful tone than before. He asked what he could do for Su Yang, prompting Su Yang to explain that he wanted to know the whereabouts of the master-level blacksmith in Tianling City. Additionally, he inquired if they had any boundless gems available, as the treasure pavilion had run out. He wanted to buy a few more just in case, and Zhou Tai replied that the information Su Yang needed was no problem. They had him covered. He also mentioned that they had unbounded gems available, but they were quite expensive. Zhou Tai seemed to think that even with the black gold card, Su Yang might not be able to afford them. But, with a flick of his finger, Su Yang made it clear that money was no issue for him. With this, Zhou Tai realized the caliber of the person he was dealing with, and so he decided to personally retrieve the goods for Su Yang, asking him to wait. And this put a smile on Su Yang's face, and the fact that the Grand Steward of the capital of the region showing him such respect made him even more curious about the background of the transfer temple, as they commanded so much power. A few moments later, Su Yang received the items he needed, and so he left the establishment and was now headed to the Old Wolf Forge, where the master-level blacksmith was said to be working. The forge was an inconspicuous place, reinforcing his decision to trust Tianji Pavilion with the information. But Su Yang's fears seemed to materialize quicker than he had anticipated, as rumors began to spread about an exploration team preparing to venture into the Black Dragon Sanctuary again. He had expected this to happen much later, considering the fear he had instilled in everyone with his skill that prevented a hunter from ever resurrecting. So it seems like the members of the pavilion had more guts than he initially thought. Nevertheless, Su Yang was confident that their preparations would take more time due to what happened to Chen Lun, giving him just enough time to get stronger. Still, it was better to subdue the Black Dragon sooner rather than later to avoid any complications. With this in mind, Su Yang quickly arrived at the Old Wolf Forge. To his surprise, the place was already occupied by other hunters, Murong Shui, whom he had met before, and a new face named An Yu, and since he recognized them as his guildmates, he greeted them warmly, as any guildmate would, and with this approach they quickly realized who he was. But unexpectedly, An Yu is a down-bad individual. She was horny on sight, asking Su Yang personal questions like if he had a girlfriend or even an older sister, all while practically drooling over him. Even the usually composed Su Yang was left too stunned to speak. Luckily, Murong Shui was there to keep things family-friendly, pulling An Yu back to reality. She then asked Su Yang why he was at the forge. She pointed out that this was a master-level forge, implying that Su Yang didn't need to be there at his level, and suggesting he should go back to the blacksmith shop on Commercial Street, which made Su Yang sigh, as this was the second time today someone had doubted him, and he is tired of explaining himself. So he simply showed them why he was there, taking out his Starlight-level gear and the boundless gem. This revelation completely silenced both women. Even the blacksmith stopped what he was doing, as he had not seen such a fine weapon in a long time. And with everyone's attention now on him, Su Yang handed the weapon to the master blacksmith. The blacksmith eagerly accepted the challenge, and he was so motivated that his top was completely ripped off on its own, while proudly proclaiming that he would not disappoint Su Yang, as he would pour his life's work into strengthening the weapon. And with that said, He started to crank that soldier boy, pounding the weapon hard that in every strike it made sparks fly like shooting stars. This magical sight captivated everyone present. Such an effect could only be seen when enhancing a Starlight tier weapon, making it a rare and awe-inspiring sight for Murong Shui and An Yu, who were witnessing it for the first time. To Murong's surprise, Su Yang remained unfazed, signifying that he is already familiar with such spectacles, which added to the mysterious aura surrounding Su Yang's identity. But Murong's gaze lingered on Su Yang longer than she intended, which An Yu noticed, prompting her to tease Murong and accuse her of taking a liking to Su Yang, which completely flustered Murong. Meanwhile, Su Yang was sweating like crazy. It wasn't because of the heat of the blacksmith's environment, but because he realized he might have chosen the wrong guild to join. Being the only guy in a guild full of women was both a blessing and a curse, as he felt like he would be devoured just by their gazes, sending a shiver down his spine and making him anxious about what could come next. He might even die with a crushed pelvis at this point. A few hours later, the blacksmith completed enhancing Su Yang's weapon. Su Yang was surprised and impressed by the old man's craftsmanship. To be successful on the first attempt was truly remarkable, especially considering how many materials Su Yang had wasted when he tried it himself. Grateful for the work, Su Yang asked the old blacksmith how much he owed him. The blacksmith responded that he typically charged 1 billion in fees for such an effort, but because he felt invigorated by the opportunity to work on such a fine item, he would make an exception and not charge Su Yang at all. This gesture was something unheard of from any Grandmaster blacksmith, but Su Yang believed in giving respect where it was due. The old blacksmith's work deserved to be paid for in full. Besides, money was easier to come by than the goodwill of a Grandmaster blacksmith, so Su Yang handed over 1 billion currency, not as a payment, but as a token of appreciation for the blacksmith's craft while respecting his wishes. The Grandmaster was pleased with this well-mannered young man and happy to be of service. Meanwhile, An Yu was having a field day with her fantasies, witnessing the only male member of their guild being this generous, passing up a free opportunity, spending billions, and still smiling about it, checked every box of her own dreams. She even thought she might be in love. Even Murong Shui was bewildered by all of this. It even made her think that Su Yang must be the young master of some wealthy family. But Su Yang is a man of focus, so he didn't wait for things to escalate any further and just dipped out of the place. A few moments had passed. Su Yang arrived at the outskirts of Tianling City, near the imposing Wild Spirit mountain range. The rugged landscape and the eerie silence suggested that this area was really meant for awakeners above the 2nd tier. Still, Su Yang was unfazed, as he had some powerful hacks up his sleeve. Using a series of expensive potions that permanently increased his attributes, limited to 5 per type, he drastically boosted his speed and spirit. He also strategically distributed his remaining attribute points, allowing him to wield the legendary Shadow Bloodthirst Dagger. This formidable weapon exponentially increased his overall attributes, making him a match for a 4th-tier awakener. And with newfound confidence, Su Yang dove into the dense forest, ready to hunt. And as expected, the monsters here were aggressive, attacking him even as he descended. They unleashed a vicious 2-piece combo, but Su Yang was in his element. Before the attacks could land, he activated his Shadow Form skill, increasing his speed to then dodge it and swiftly dice these monsters with his Starlight weapon, eliminating his foes in a single blow. However, Su Yang had no intention of slogging through the map by killing mobs one by one. He had a grander strategy in mind. Using his usual method, he unfurled multiple scrolls simultaneously. He decided to blast through these mobs all at once, unleashing an AoE attack that could make even the legendary Megaman proud. With the weaker mobs taken care of, Su Yang set his sights on the cave of the terrifying beast he needed to kill for his mission. Given the mission's design, he estimated the beast's level to be no less than 50. This piqued his curiosity about how many hits it would take to bring the creature down. Surprisingly, his trek through the cave was uneventful. It seemed no lesser monsters were lurking about. Little did he know, a significant number of them had decided to hide, fully aware they would be easily clapped by him. With this, Su Yang easily reached the boss's lair, but was greeted by a scene straight out of a nightmare. The terrain was treacherous, dotted with pitfalls and spikes. At the center, an elevated rock formation served as the boss's resting place, surrounded by a pool of blood. The sight was intimidating, but what truly caught Su Yang's attention is that apart from the boss name and level, no other information is visible. A factor that added an extra layer of challenge, making Su Yang realize he would need a higher-tier skill book for clairvoyance to avoid such surprises in the future. But since he doesn't have that now, he just settled with heightening his senses, fully aware of the dangers of underestimating an unknown boss. With this mindset, he approached the boss using his shadow form to remain undetected. Once in position, he used Wraithmark to boost his damage by 300%. His initial attack took a significant chunk out of the boss's HP, but it wasn't enough to kill it outright, and with the boss fully awakened, it quickly retaliated by launching countless thorns towards Su Yang. But Su Yang is faster, dodging the attack while also positioning himself to effectively counter with relentless strikes from his demon blade, attacking from all sides and gradually wearing down its health. And the boss roared in fury. But before it could even retaliate again, Su Yang decided to end the battle decisively. He descended straight toward its core, delivering a powerful swing. The force of his attack reverberated through the cavern, the boss's death throes echoing in the enclosed space. While Su Yang was just surprised to see he had slain the beast already. He expected more resistance than that, but he was satisfied with the outcome, so he didn't press further and focus on that item he gained. Among his rewards was a key mentioned in the mission, but more intriguingly, he received a rotten chunk of flesh. Its description hinted at its former owner's immense power. Even in its decayed state, it had been enough to mutate the beast. But with no further information available, Su Yang decided to put the mysterious item aside for now. The investigation into the item's use could wait until later. His priority was to return and submit the class change mission, and so he did just that. A few moments later, Su Yang stood on the brink of a monumental transformation. Awakening to the next tier was no small feat, but Su Yang had just completed a 5-star task, causing his base attributes to skyrocket by a remarkable 25%. As if that wasn't enough, he gained an exclusive skill for magic warriors. It was named Dual Spirit Enhancement. This formidable ability boosted his spirit attribute by 10% of his current strength, and increased his strength attribute by 10% of his spirit, creating a powerful synergy within his abilities. But Su Yang's blessings didn't end there. By completing his hidden mission, he unlocked even greater rewards. His overall attributes surged by another 5%. His class advanced to the rare and prestigious Magic Warrior, and he was bestowed with a legendary skill book. And as his level cap lifted, Su Yang catapulted to level 58, fueled by the reservoir of experience he had meticulously amassed. And then he carefully distributed his newly gained attribute points evenly between strength and spirit. This strategic allocation elevated his base attributes to an unprecedented level, making him a force to be reckoned with. His stats now eclipsed those of third-tier Awakener, and with the addition of his equipment attributes, Su Yang was more than prepared to take on the Spirit Hunter Guild. And the mere thought of defeating a 4th-tier Awakener while still at a 2nd-tier level was electrifying, as it would be on a whole nother level of disrespect. And if he even considered using the new skill he got, the Dual Destruction Blade, which allows him to merge the Demon Blade with his equipped weapon, he was confident that his strike could likely be too much for even a Platinum-tier dungeon boss to withstand. Truly a legendary skill indeed. As his awakening completed, Bailing congratulated Su Yang on his latest achievement, as his VIP benefits received a substantial upgrade. His monthly allowance soared from 10 million to a staggering 50 million, and the discount rate on his Black Gold card improved from 20% to 30%. But despite these significant perks, Su Yang's current perspective rendered them almost ordinary, eliciting little reaction from him, and just went on his way to continue his grind. But before he departed, Bailing asked what he intended to do next, and Su Yang, feeling a bit fatigued, mentioned he planned to rest for 2 days, emphasizing the importance of balancing work and leisure. But rest didn't mean doing nothing. He intended to visit the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion to procure items necessary for his next grand mission, slaying the Black Dragon himself. But that would be all for now. Stay tuned for the next part.